Hello, it's Lindy of Celebrant Training Scotland. First of all, thank you for taking the time to watch this wee video. I brought it to you to tell you about some training opportunities that are coming up for those people who would like to train as funeral celebrants, but also to talk a wee bit about what that means, because I've been having lots of conversations with maybe you, but certainly people who have signed up to the mailing list or have seen the training online. They've been getting in touch, we've been having phone conversations about the training, but just as importantly about what you need to be thinking about before you pay out any money or give up your time to come on the training. So we'll talk about the training that's available, that's coming up in a wee minute, but let's just talk about the role itself. Well, first of all, let's start off by saying how wonderfully life-affirming this role as a celebrant is. And I'm going to specifically talk about funeral celebrancy because that's the training that's coming up. Being a funeral celebrant is one of the most rewarding things that certainly I have ever done, and it's a role where you get almost immediate and very affirming feedback. It always sort of blows me away that on the day of a funeral, when families should be taking that time to grieve and to be in with the family and be in their wee community and thinking about nobody else but themselves, if there's ever a day to be selfish and make it just about you, it's the day that you bury somebody you love, right? But on so many occasions, I and other celebrants within Celebrant Training Scotland, and I'm sure outside, on the day of a funeral, sometimes before you even go home from that funeral, you've received a text or an email or a telephone call from the family that you've been serving to say thank you. And often there's much more than that, just about how much they enjoyed it, how much people round about them have said it was such a good ceremony and it really honoured that person's life. So that really blows me away, that it's so impactful for people that they feel they need to reach out, and that just shows you what a difference that a good funeral celebrant can make in the life of a family who are grieving. So it's wonderful work. There's so many different levels of it that are wonderful. So being able to sit with families and to hear these wonderful stories, sometimes tragic stories, and then to be able to weave those stories together in a way that is going to become this beautiful end of life ceremony, and to stand up there and to hold space for the person who's departed. I'm doing this because usually I'm in the crematorium, the coffin is sitting in the catafalque behind me, but to hold space for the person who has departed, who's transitioning, depending on what their beliefs were, to hold space for the family to say their goodbyes, and to hold space for the wider community as they come to say their farewells. But to do that in a way that where it's not in any way about you, you're just this vehicle through which the family get to say their goodbyes, their voice is coming through you. So to be able to do that in a very present, minimalist, authentic way of holding space is really an honour and a privilege. But it also takes great skill and continuous professional development and continuous self-development to be able to do that. Many times people come in the course and they think because they've been able to stand up and speak at work, or they speak at conferences, or they speak somewhere else, they would say they're comfortable with public speaking, and they think they're going to nail that part of the training. My training is not about teaching you to be a public speaker, nor is it teaching you to be a professional speaker. it's trying to plant the seeds, because we can't do it in 4 days. It's trying to plant the seeds of you becoming a very present and authentic, and as I said a minute ago, minimalist speaker. So it's not all about you and what words, it's about being very still and centered and not taking the focus or the attention away from the person whose life that you're honouring. And so my type of training very much focuses on that style. Some people come on the training and they say, I don't have any problem about writing a ceremony, I think I could do that very well. And then they realise that we're not asking you to put together a project or a piece of research or any other type of kind of business presentation. This is where we are taking the words that are given to us, we are putting them onto paper, but then through us we're bringing those words to life. We're bringing that life to life again for a few minutes, that person back to life for a few minutes, so that the family can say their goodbyes. So there are these elements of being able to write and being able to deliver that are hugely important, but it's also just as important to be able to build rapport and communicate with families in a very, again, authentic but professional way. So having these really great interpersonal skills where you can sit down with a family, often 12, 14 people in the room, they might not like each other, one might have a louder voice than the other, it might be a very fractious family and fractious relationships between them. The dynamics within every family is different, but we have to be confident enough, sometimes assertive enough, to be able to manage that and keep our intention at the heart of everything we're doing. And our intention when we go to visit families is to gather as much information about this life as we possibly can and be able to honour it in the right way. So that's very important, being able to go out and sit with families and to be able to build a rapport so that they will open up to you and they will be willing to share these stories, but also to be able to do that in a way where you're foraging, you're trying to dig a wee bit deeper so that you're triggering different memories so that they can share more information with you. And so you have to be very, very good at questioning people in a very gentle way so that they don't close off to you and they do share this information. And that can be very tricky. So some people come on the course and they think it's about having a sheet of paper in front of you with lots of questions, which you will get, but a really good celebrant doesn't actually need a questionnaire. They can just say, I don't use a questionnaire, I use a questionnaire for the writing down all the logistics, who's doing what and who was who in the family. But when it comes to the person's life, just a pen, a blank sheet of paper, let's start at the beginning if that's where they want us to start. Let's talk about that person's early life. Did he or she have a happy childhood? Oh yeah, how do you know that? And then seeing what comes out of that and just delving a wee bit deeper with every answer that comes back. Can you expand on that a wee bit? What does that mean? How would I know if I could go back and see her as a 5-year-old? How would I know that she was a mischievous wee girl? What kind of things would I see? So we have to be very skilled at questioning people, families in the right way, and doing that while there's all sorts of other noise going on in the room. But we also have to be able to ask ourselves questions such as, if I was delivering a ceremony, be it at the crematorium or at graveside, and somebody collapsed, am I the kind of person that would be able to stop and deal with that in a very effective and a gentle way, taking in the fact that we're here for somebody's funeral ceremony, but not ignoring the elephant in the room, because you can't just ignore it. It does become this big thing. So am I the kind of person that could stop and say, Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to allow this gentleman to get the help he needs, and then we'll recenter ourselves and we'll continue with the ceremony. Are you the kind of person that's likely to freeze and just keep on talking? I'm sure that you can pick up from what I'm saying that the latter there is really not acceptable. Are you the kind of person, if somebody was keening in the crematorium, and by keening I mean if they were wailing, if they were howling, if suddenly grief overtakes them and they cannot hold it in, are you the kind of celebrant that would just keep going and just ignore that because you don't know what to do with it? And then everybody in the whole crematorium is sitting thinking, can she not hear this? Or are you the kind of celebrant or the person that would be able to calmly say, let's just pause. Let's just come together in community and recognise how heavy the grief is in the room today. And that's okay. That's as it should be. So let's just take a moment to hold John's family, knowing that our support, our coming together, our love can help them, can support them at this most difficult time. Just a few words that really diffuses the situation. Whenever that, and that's happened lots and lots of times to me, but whenever I've just paused and brought my humanity to the moment, my understanding that this is a mother grieving for her son, this is a husband grieving for his wife, this is a sister grieving for her brother. When I bring my humanity to it and just take a moment to remind everybody of that, to bring and ask them to bring their humanity to it, it just diffuses the situation, and we can just take a wee moment or so in silence, a sacred pause as I would call it, and then when the time is right, we can continue. Are you that kind of celebrant that would be comfortable with a sacred pause? Are you that kind of person? And maybe at the moment you're saying, oh my goodness, no, but are you the kind of person that could become comfortable through the right training? Or is that your worst nightmare? You know, are you able to think on your feet? Are you able to work in the moment? Because although we celebrants try and do everything within our power to negate the possibility of anything going wrong in a ceremony, it's real time, right? And things do happen, things do go wrong, things are thrown into the mix. I did a funeral ceremony last week, and when I stood up to do the committal, which are those final words where we're saying that final goodbye, everybody stands up, we're saying some words to say, you know, this is it, this is where we release your body to its natural end, or, you know, we lay you to rest if it's a burial, whatever those words might be, and they're always different. But as I stood up and started speaking to the deceased, I always turn and face the coffin. The person in the crematorium panicked a bit and started playing the music. Now, sometimes that would work if it was the right piece of music, but this just happened to be the deceased playing his guitar and talking at the same time, so it didn't quite flow there. What would you do? Would you keep going? Would you turn to the back of the crematorium and be doing this, even though she can't see you because everybody's standing up? You have to be able to think on your feet to try and manage that situation the best way you possibly can. And it might be that later you look back and think, oh, I should have done it a different way. But you have to be able to tolerate uncertainty when you're a celebrant. And that just means knowing you cannot prepare for every eventuality, but knowing that you're trained well enough and that you're confident enough and that you have enough life skills, you know, you're bringing enough life skills into this work with you, that you will be able to deal with it in the moment in the best way that you possibly can. These things are just as important as being able to write a nice script and stand up and deliver a nice script. In fact, they're every bit as important. And then there's the other side, once you've had the training and you're absolutely buzzing to go out and to be of service to the world through being a funeral celebrant. Do you have the type of personality that will allow you to go out and engage with funeral directors and to meet them in a friendly, professional manner, and to be able to ask them, is there any possibility that we could work together? Would you be willing to, give me one of your ceremonies, or however you're going to say it, but are you the kind of person that's going to be able to go out and to knock on doors and to pick up phones and to make this work for you? Or are you going to sit at home behind closed doors saying I'm a celebrant and waiting for somebody to come and chat your door? The chances of that happening are negligible, as you would imagine. So these are the things to ask yourself. You will learn a lot in the course. We cram a lot into the 4 days, and I squeeze every bit of potential out of you. Somebody was saying last Saturday what they were enjoying most was seeing the immediate feedback and how it's applied and how people are changing. So from the very start of the ceremony, of the training, you're up behind the lectern. I want to see what our big lump of Play-Doh is. What are we starting with? And then I will give you feedback. Others will give you feedback, and we'll say, get up and try it again. This time, I would like you to slow down. Okay, this time, I would like you to only look at these 2 people in the room. If you've got a tendency to look up at the ceiling and talk to all these people that are floating up here, we might get you to, okay, this time, read your first passage again, and you're only speaking between these 2 people here, but I want eye contact. Okay, get up and do it again, but this time. So you're seeing these changes happening almost immediately, and we're doing that all the way through the 4 days until, the first 3 days until that last day when you're going to get up and you're going to deliver a 20-minute funeral ceremony, because that's the big goal, of the practical goal of the training, the one that is going to test everything that you've learned. You are going to get up in that very last morning, and each of you are going to deliver a 20-minute funeral ceremony for the same person. So you're going to be given information about somebody's life, and this is a ceremony that I've conducted, and I've been given permission to use this person's information, and you're going to be given the questions that I asked and the answers that they gave me, and you're going to take that away and you're going to put together a eulogy based on that information. And there's another wee part of it that I don't want to say on here because I don't want to give away all our secrets, but what it means is that on the last day, some people will have different information than other people. Some people will have more stories than other people, but it's a really good learning curve about questioning, how we question people. And on the last day, it's really wonderful because we get 6 different presentations about the same person, all completely different. But by that point, people have really stepped into, they've taken on their feedback and they've really stepped up their game and stepped into the role of a celebrant. And so the change over the 4 days is just absolutely wonderful. Okay, that's all the things to think about. Could you bring yourself to that? If so, we have 2 courses coming up that we have space on. We've got one in May, the 14th to the 17th of May. It's a Tuesday to Friday. It's in Perth in Scotland. It's a classroom-based course. We have 1 place available on that course at the moment. Then the next one is in July. It's the 2nd to the 5th of July. Again, it's a Tuesday to a Friday, and it's in Perth in Scotland. And we have 5 spaces left in that. Only 1 has gone in that. But this is the first time that either of those 2 courses have actually been put out there. And as you can see, the May one is almost fully booked. Only 1 space left. So if you would be interested in the training, the first port of call is to send me an email or pick up the phone and call me. Somebody just called me this afternoon. She'd been on watching some videos and she just picked up the phone, and I was here, I was sitting working on something, and I will, if I can, I will answer the phone to you and we can have a chat about the training, and you can tell me what's bringing you to this work. You can ask me questions, and through that I'll get a flavour of if I think the training, would work for you. Not that I can't guarantee that you'll get work at the other side, but I'm looking for people that are coming to it for the right reasons. They're coming to it because they've been to funerals and they've loved seeing the celebrants, and they come from a background where they have done, lots of different things, often teachers, lawyers, social care. So they have all that life experience to bring to the training, and they have some experience with writing and with getting up and speaking in front of a group of people. And we're going to take all that and we're going to tweak it a bit to make it appropriate for funeral celebrancy. So if you're interested in either of those two courses, reach out hello@celebranttrainingscotland.co.uk or 07800 950 647. Let's have a chat and let's see if between us we think you're right for the course, and then it's up to you. You just sign up and come and have a fabulous 4 days with Celebrant Training Scotland. Okay, speak to you soon.